The Knicks should definitely sign Julius Randle to an extension, and here's why. The Knicks are in desperate need of having that reliable second scorer. We saw that they missed that in the playoffs. Big body Brunson, as my friend Mr. Perkins would say, need somebody to be able to take the load off of him when other teams try to go after him and double team him and scheme against him. Julius has a personal connection with this organization. He's played for Tibbs for the last 4 years. He has a connection with the teammates, the front office. He knows what it's like to play in New York. He has unfinished business playing in New York. He wants to help take this team not only to a conference championship, but to an NBA Finals. You definitely got to re-sign him because he's reliable, he's tough, and he fits well with this group, in my opinion.
All right, boys, welcome back to another video. Knicks Daily here. Going off of what Scott Perry said, our former GM, I completely agree with him. The New York Knicks should absolutely give Julius Randle an extension, but it should only be for a pay cut. Jalen Brunson took a pay cut. OG Anunoby did not take a pay cut. Mikal Bridges reportedly is expected to take a pay cut to remain with the Knicks. Randle has to do the same, and I understand that this started with him. He's a huge piece to our team, 2-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Star. Randle's probably worth $45 million. I mean, the guy is one of the more dominant players in the league when he's fully healthy. We saw that before the injury in January, that shoulder, that Randle was legit. He was putting up 25 to 30 a night, giving you 9 boards, 5 assists, efficient. Not the best defender, not the best perimeter shooter, but Randle, you need a bucket. You need somebody to go at you. That's him, man. This guy is tough as nails. If the Knicks gave Randle a max extension, it would end up being around $45 million annually a year, like I said, so $181 million for 4 years. The Knicks just can't do that, guys. And the reason for that is because they would be pushing it to that point. We would not have any sort of flexibility. If Brunson... Well, he did end up taking that pay cut, but let's just say that Randle ends up getting that contract. Well, Brunson's pay cut was essentially for nothing, and we don't want that to be the case. You can definitely make the argument that, well, hang on a second here. The Knicks still won 50 games, and that was with Randle. He appeared in 46 games last season. He did not play in the playoffs. The Knicks still won 50 games. They ended up beating Philadelphia in the first round. But the Knicks, they're not going to win a championship without Julius Randle. If they end up trading him for a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr., that's a different story. But let's face it, the Knicks are not getting Jaren Jackson Jr. for Julius Randle. If they traded Randle, the best they could get would be maybe Karl-Anthony Towns, but they'd have to add pieces to that, and they wouldn't become a better team doing that, right? Like Mitch and Randle for Cat would be absurd, and we'd probably have to put in draft picks into that. So I don't see why we would trade Randle. The only way I would is if he says he's only signing for the max, but I don't see Randle doing that. I feel like he'll end up just signing an extension with the Knicks, because why play on a one-year deal when you can get some sort of safety? You know that you are at your best with Coach Tibb. You know you're with Brunson, with OG, Mikal Bridges, Hart, Devo, McBride, Robinson, Achua. There's a lot of talent on this roster. I do think Randle ends up getting extended. I'm not sure when it will be and for how much. But in terms of his future for the Knicks, I do think he's going to end up finishing at least the next 4 or 5 seasons with us. And I don't see why he wouldn't, because he just knows all about New York basketball. And I'm rooting for Randle. I want him to have a good season. I want him to have a good playoffs. I have been frustrated with him because he didn't look good against the Hawks. But that Knicks team was never supposed to be there anyway. There wasn't a lot of talent. It was essentially just Randle and Mitch, if I'm being real. RJ was okay. And that series against the Cavs and the Heat, Randle wasn't even close to 100%. We saw that when he's fully healthy and has guys around him, he's dominant. I mean, you pull up Randle, like I said, and towards the you eliminate the first 13 games. Again, guys, he was giving you 26, 9, and 5 on over 50% from the field. And he's not the best three-point shooter. He's not the best defender. But the Knicks have built their roster to be able to get around that. They've got good three-point shooters. They've got Brunson. They've got Mikal Bridges. OG can shoot the three ball at a very high clip. And Devo coming off the bench. McBride. Multiple 40% or higher three-point shooters. And then defensively, the Knicks have the best 1-2 wing defensive punch in basketball. How are you going to defend Jason Tatum? How are you going to defend Jaylen Brown? How are you going to guard Paul George? And I'll even include Joel Embiid in that, because nobody has defended Embiid like Mitchell Robinson. Maybe Marc Gasol comes to mind, but when he was with the Raptors, that was insane. But overall, the Knicks have the roster to be able to win the championship. It's just, can they stay healthy? I don't even think it's fit. If anybody's doubting the fit of the Knicks, I personally just don't see how that could even be brought up. Because again, the Knicks played with OG, Brunson, and Randall, and they had their best month of basketball in franchise history. You added Mikal Bridges, and that's going to change it. Mikal Bridges fits any roster. There isn't one team in the NBA right now that you put Mikal Bridges on and he'd make them worse or he'd make them uncomfortable. No, Bridges literally plays without the ball. He's one of, if not the best corner three-point shooter in the league, can defend multiple positions. A guy finished runner-up to Defensive Player of the Year a couple of years ago when he was in Phoenix. As the third option on that team, he averaged 20 a game in the playoffs on 39% from three. The Knicks got truly one of the more valuable players in basketball. Oh, he's not a superstar. He's not an all-star. Who the hell cares? He gives you exactly what you want, and that's 3-and-D ability. He can also shoot off the dribble. He can create, and he's going to have great chemistry with his best friends, Brunson, Hart, and Devo. He went to college with those guys and won a championship, right? Villanova had a great run, man, pulling together a couple of championships. So overall, this team is going to go where Jalen Brunson goes, but it's also what you get outside of Jalen Brunson. Because if Brunson could play 48 minutes, like if we turn injuries off, I don't think anyone watching right now that's a Knicks fan would think that we're not going to be the favorites to win the championship. Because Brunson playing 48 minutes, yeah, good luck with that. He's going to be averaging 50 a game. It's just as simple as that. Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson fully healthy. But obviously, guys, we can't do that. I wish we could, because that would be awesome, but that's not a thing. It's not reality. So the Knicks, they do have to have good depth on the wing, and they certainly need to have good depth at center, because Mitch has not been able to stay healthy. We re-signed Precious Achiuwa, and we picked up the team option on Jericho Sims. So everything's looking pretty promising for the Knicks, and I'm excited for it. I cannot wait to cover the preseason and to cover the regular season for you guys. I haven't been active lately just because there hasn't been much news, but Jalen Brunson, he was named the team captain, the first since Lance Thomas. There's been a lot in franchise history, but overall, Brunson has just represented this organization in the best way possible, taking a pay cut, elevating his game when it matters, being a great teammate, staying out of trouble. You can tell Brunson, he's not the type of guy to be at the club, man. He just wants to go to dinner and just be really casual. And shout out to Brunson, because this was the best thing that has happened to the Knicks in, what, like 20 years, was signing Jalen Brunson. If we didn't bring in Brunson, we still would be a pretty decent team, but we would not be anywhere close to winning a championship, not even close.